just really feel like I can't do this anymore. I can't do this alone anymore. Good morning, y'all. Cats are totally getting loaded on the nip. I don't know if y'all saw my chicken manure lasagna recipe. It's a short that I posted. It's dumb. I randomly titled it Chicken Manure Lasagna Recipe. It's basically just that I potted my propagated golden pothos finally. I think I started propagating it when I was pregnant with Kieran. My cat grass is sprouting, so that's pretty cool. The other two planter boxes are finished. Well, I mean, apart from sanding and staining. I think I want to try to get that done today, if possible. I have all this garden fabric that I'm going to cut to size and staple inside the planter boxes. And hopefully I'll get to planting this weekend. Pruned my mama's lavender and stopped watering it as much. And it's looking a lot better. Some plants I just don't know how to take care of. I wanted to chat a little bit today about how I've been doing, because I've actually been struggling, and a lot of people have been making comments that are like, I'm so glad you're doing better, like you look so much happier, I'm so glad like you're feeling better and things are better. And while it's true that I do have days where I am feeling better, for the most part I am still struggling a lot with grief. And for those who don't know, I have unmedicated ADHD. I was diagnosed over 11 years ago, and I chose to be off of all forms of medication during my pregnancy and trying to conceive phases of life, just because I wanted to be clean, I guess, for all my pregnancies and for leading up to trying to conceive and everything. And if you have ADHD, you know that it is really difficult when you're not medicated. I really thought that I had a handle on it, you know, and for a while I really feel like I did. And things are just different when you're in the throes of grief. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but ADHD symptoms can be worse during different phases of your life, like during grief or any sort of like stress or hardship. ADHD symptoms can go tenfold. During the menstrual cycle, they can get worse too. And there's a lot of things that I did to manage my ADHD symptoms, like executive function, journaling every morning, exercising, projects to help create dopamine in my brain, because when you have ADHD, the synapses in your brain don't transfer dopamine as well, and your brain doesn't concentrate the dopamine as well as a neurotypical person. So that's why we have difficulty staying attentive to certain things and difficulty remembering things. But you know, I've tried every positive way I can think to manage my ADHD, and positive dopamine seeking behaviors such as projects, but there's only so many projects that I can do, right? Before I'm just like up to here in projects, and then, you know, I start abandoning those. There's only so many projects, there's only so much journaling, there's only so much exercise, there's only so much clean eating, there's only so many supplements that I can take before it just, you know, it's time. It's time to get the big guns back out. It's time to get help. And I made a big deal of, you know, talking with my OB, talking with my other doctors about, you know, I want to be off of psychiatric meds 6 months prior to trying to conceive. So that's when I got off of my meds. And I think I could have done it, honestly, if I didn't. Damn cat. You are not supposed to be up there. Come back down. Forget what I was saying. So I'm kind of at this point where grief and ADHD, unmedicated ADHD symptoms are intersecting, and it's creating this basically ADHD on steroids. And I'm so forgetful. I have such terrible executive dysfunction I know like I have all of these things that I need to do and I just can't make myself do it because it's like every single thing that I have to do, whether it's a bill I gotta pay, I gotta clean this, I have to go do that, I have to do XYZ, you know, all this whole list of stuff that I have to do. It's exploding in my head like fireworks, and it's like hard for me to grasp which one I should do first. Now that sounds dramatic, but that's what it's like. To some extent, the executive function journaling helps with that, so I can tackle the list of things, but when you're having executive dysfunction to even journal, it's I know that a lot of neurotypical people just wouldn't understand. Like, the one that I hear all the time is like, why don't you just do it? Like, why don't you just get off your ass and do it? And it's like, I wish you understood. I wish you understood the ADHD paralysis. I really, really wanted to keep my body as clean as possible before trying to conceive again, but I can't function. Like I said, it's up and down. There's days where I function great. There's days when like I can't hardly move. I can hardly feed myself. I can hardly take care of my son. I mean, it's so, like, the ADHD symptoms are so heightened right now that I will see the cat's water dish empty and I'm like, oh, I need to fill that. So I get up from the couch and I walk over there, and by the time I get to the dish, I don't know why I've walked over there. And then I sit there and I'm scratching my head like, why did I walk over here? I knew I had something important to do and I can't figure out why I walked over here. And then the dish goes unfilled and then the cats go thirsty. And then I'm sitting there trying to rack my brain and getting upset with myself for not knowing why I walked over there. You know, that type of forgetfulness exists all the time when I'm unmedicated, but it is so much worse while I'm going through the grief of losing my mother. It is 100-fold. I feel like I'm talking in circles and I'm not even making cohesive sense, you know. That's how jumbled my brain is. I made a tough decision because I can't do this alone anymore. I can't. I've done everything that I can, but it's really time for me to get back on meds. And I got in touch with a psychiatrist, and we're gonna do a telehealth appointment on Monday so I can hopefully get back on my meds. I know it kind of, you know, goes against the whole plan that I'd had, but I am gonna talk to all my doctors and, you know, get their opinions as well. But as of right now, I think the safest thing for me is to go back on my meds, because there are some days when I feel so overwhelmed and so upset with myself for not being able to control my neurodivergent mind that I want things to end, you know, and that's not a good place to be. You know, if you're really struggling and medication is something that really helps you and is going to make life so much easier, I think it should be done, you know, as much as I had plans otherwise. This needs to be done. I have to do it. Told myself I wasn't gonna get emotional. Yeah, even making the decision and calling a doctor and setting up an appointment to get the meds that I need, that's something that I thought, like, oh, I need to call my mom and tell her about that. Yeah, the grief is every day, you know. It's hard every day. Yeah, there's some days where I do okay. But I would say for probably 75-80% of the time I'm not. And I know it's gonna get better, you know. I know that my life is gonna grow around my grief. Like, grief doesn't shrink, it doesn't go away. It's still the same intensity that it always is, but your life just gets bigger around it. Yeah, I was talking to Kameron about it and I was like, I just really feel like I can't do this anymore. I can't do this alone anymore. I need help. I don't plan on messing with Wellbutrin, because that does stay in your system much longer, and that's what I was on before. I'm gonna go straight to the big guns that worked the best for me, and that's gonna be Adderall. The one good thing about that particular med is that it does get out of your system a lot quicker than other ADHD meds. The other good thing about that is when I was prescribed Adderall, I didn't have to take that one every day like I did with Wellbutrin. I could take it as needed. So on days where I'm feeling like, you know what, I got this, I don't have to take it. And on days like today where I just really feel like I'm made of cement, like, yeah, I'll take it. I hope that anything I was saying was easy to follow. I know, like, my mind kind of feels like, you know, the static that you would see on a television? That's what it feels like in there right now. Brain static, body's made of cement, and I have this sinking feeling in my chest from the grief. Great combination. My goodness, Damien. Those little fangs. Let's see those fangs. Show off those cute little fangs, Damien. I can hardly stand how cute these guys are. Especially you with your little fangs. Oh my goodness. I should just do a second channel of just close-ups on my cats. Would anybody watch that? Would anybody subscribe to a second channel of literally just close-ups of my cats? What would I call that? What would I call a channel that's just my cats? Like, just my cats enjoying their lives. Like, cats just chilling. Cat tube. You've been playing independently so well. Yes, you have. Look at those teeth. Daddy's home. He's here.
Hi. Hi, buddy. Hi. You playing with your toys, huh? You playing with your toys? Oh. You watching Bluey? Love you, buddy. I love you.
Okay, here's an example of how bad the symptoms are. Kameron was here just briefly to have some lunch, and I decided to make another cup of coffee. I forgot that I was making my coffee, and then I was like, oh, I'm making my coffee. So I went to go get creamer, and I got back to my Keurig machine, and I had already put creamer in it. It's little things like that, but it's all day long. One instance by itself doesn't seem like that big of a deal when it's everything. When it's over and over and over, just piling up all day long. It's a lot. And I can only explain that it's just how it is sometimes. Like, symptoms are just worse on some days. Oh, that's another thing actually that has been really, really bad is, and this one affects Kameron a lot because he's, as far as we know, he's neurotypical and he doesn't have any of the issues that I experience. But I have auditory processing delay. If I'm like hyper fixated on something, it's almost like I have earmuffs on to the world around me and I can't hear things right away, if that makes sense. And he'll ask me a question and it's usually about like 10, maybe 15 seconds before I respond to him. And he'll be kind of like, I asked you that last year, you know, but with my symptoms being so much worse right now, sometimes it's up to like 30 seconds to 45 seconds before my brain processes something that he has said to me. And then I finally respond to him. And then at that point, he's like, I don't even know what I said to you that, like, that you're responding to. And I'm like, oh, well, you said this. And he's like, oh, well, that was like last year. I'm laughing at it because sometimes you just have to laugh so you don't cry. But yeah, that's another big one that Adderall really takes care of. It really helps my auditory processing, makes it so much faster. So that's what I'm looking forward to that, you know? Imagine like ADHD. This is for the neurotypical people. Imagine walking into a room that's completely cluttered and everything's in the wrong places and you don't, like you need to go cook something and everything's in the wrong cupboards and you have to try to figure out where everything is in order to make a meal and you're really, really hungry and you just can't get to it fast enough. Now, ADHD and grief or stress or some kind of life event paired together, imagine that messy, cluttered room becoming like A&E Hoarders Edition. Now you literally can't even walk through the room because there's stuff just piled to the ceiling and everything's just, you don't know where anything is. And you have a vague idea of where some things are, but you can't get to it because all this other crap's in the way. And Adderall, that's gonna magically, like quite literally magically, make your entire room neat and orderly and you know where everything is. That's what this is like. I know that's a weird analogy, but that's what it feels like in here. Like, I just have a bad case of hoarders in my head right now. And what Adderall is hopefully going to do, because it's been, I think I was last on it when I first met Kameron, when we first started dating. What it's hopefully going to do is take those fireworks of thoughts and things and all that stuff, and it's going to slow it all down, and it's going to put it all in order, and it's going to be a lot less of a burden for me to figure out. Anyway, I feel like I've been talking all over the place, and you guys are probably completely sick of it, so I'm going to end the vlog now.